Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Zoom meeting and another podcast episode. If you are watching on YouTube or if you're listening to the podcast, you can find out more about our meetings, our how to get involved with them, our online community, paid private mentoring with myself, as well as listening to the podcast on the website. And it's www.acimwithkeith.com. All right. So we're going to talk about one of the most important principles of A Course in Miracles today. And everyone sort of has heard about this and glanced over it and sort of had to think about it and let it go. Um, but we really want to look at the full implications of this today. Course in Miracles teach us is that projection makes perception. It tells us that literally whatever you're looking at, you have decided what it means for you, projected it out, and encountered your own interpretation there that you want to have. And now you're reacting to the interpretation you've put there that you've made up. So, in A Course in Miracles, perception means interpretation. So, let's take a few quotes. So, let's begin with lesson number one. Nothing I see means anything at all. We all know this one. It's the one we all start on. You can't forget this. You cannot do A Course in Miracles without this. Nothing makes sense without this. Forgiveness makes no sense without this. The Holy Spirit's unification of purpose makes no sense without this. Healing makes no sense without this. Nothing you're looking at means anything. It's just what's apparently happening in the dream. It is simply what is. It's not right or wrong or good or bad or fair or unfair. It doesn't mean anything. It is simply what's apparently happening. And it requires no interpretation. Your opinion is invalid because you've made it up. Because whatever your opinion is has nothing to do with what's here. Nothing I see means anything. This hand doesn't mean anything. This microphone doesn't mean anything. This head doesn't mean anything. um, Nothing means anything. The room you're in doesn't mean anything. Bodies walking by on the street outside, they don't mean anything. Nothing on the news means anything. None of the images mean anything. They're just images. It's just what's apparently happening. It's just what is. Okay, lesson number two. I have given everything I see, which has no meaning at all of its own, all of the meaning that it has for me. I've decided that's good, that's bad, that's right, that's wrong. This is a good person, this is a bad person. This situation should be happening. This situation should never have happened. That was a bad thing. This should never have been. That's all made up. That's all made up. That has nothing to do with what's here. Nothing. Because what's here doesn't mean anything. Now, your thoughts are going to tell you what everything means. Do not listen. Do not believe them. They are thoughts. They are nothing. Lesson four. These thoughts about things that don't mean anything, these thoughts about that, they don't mean anything either. They're nothing. They're just what's apparently happening also, but they don't mean anything. Lesson 52. I have no private thoughts, but it's only private thoughts of which I am aware. So I don't have private thoughts, but there is the appearance of thoughts here. So all I'm aware of is these apparently private thoughts. What can they mean? They do not exist, and they mean nothing. None of your opinions on anything means anything. Nothing. It's all made up. It's all made up. All of the meanings you've put onto everything that doesn't have any meaning, that's different to what everyone else has made up. And everyone is living in a completely different private world based on made up meanings for images that don't mean anything. So all these apparently separate selves are living in private worlds, completely different private worlds. Not because the images are different, because they're not, but because they've made up different meanings for everything. And it doesn't mean that. None of the private worlds are what's here. What's here is the real world, where there's just what is. One light appearing as this present moment. One emptiness appearing as form and never ceasing to be emptiness. The light of the world. And you're not separate from that, except in thoughts, where you misperceive a world, an entire world you've made up with thoughts, and you are the imaginary central character in that world made out of thoughts. This isn't real. This is completely untrue. This has nothing to do with reality. It's your virtual reality world made of thoughts that don't mean anything, that don't exist, and that you're not really thinking. It's just part of what's already happening. It's just part of the appearances. It's part of what is. What's here appearing as this moment, appearing as thoughts, feelings, stories, memories, the world, and it doesn't mean anything. None of it. But you live in hell based on the meaning you've made up for things that have no meaning. You're completely unaware of the world that's here because you're interacting with subtitles in front of everything, meaning that you're giving it that it doesn't have. And so the real world is veiled, not absent. It's all that's here, but it's veiled by your private world made of thoughts. And you think you are a separate self made of thoughts that stands apart from the real world, critiquing it. That's illusion. That's not what you are. They're just thoughts. And you're not thinking them because you are the light of the world right now. Projection makes perception. Whatever interpretation you're making of the world, you've put it there in order to have the interpretation you want to have. However, you are reacting to the world, you have put its meaning there so you could react exactly like this. But you're just, you're not interacting with what's here. You're interacting with a world in your mind that isn't here, just thoughts. And it is this A Course in Miracles comes as a rescue mission, an imaginary rescue mission, because that world in your mind is not real, and you're not the self made out of thoughts, the hero of that dream of me. You're not that either. You just think you are. And so, A Course in Miracles is how you dissolve that delusion. And salvation is nothing more than the escape from concepts, thoughts, because they're nothing, nothing. So let's take a few more quotes. This is from the preface, what it says of A Course in Miracles. The world we see merely reflects our own internal frame of reference, the dominant ideas, wishes, and emotions in our minds. Projection makes perception. We look inside first, decide what kind of world we want to see, and then project that world outside, making it the truth as we see it. We make it true by our interpretations of what it is we are seeing. If we are using perception to justify our own mistakes, our anger, our impulses to attack, our lack of love in whatever form it may take, we will see a world of evil, destruction, malice, envy, and despair. All this we must learn to forgive, not because we are being good and charitable, but because what we are seeing is not true. If you're seeing evil, destruction, malice, envy, and despair in the images here, well, that's in you, because it's not here. Because nothing here means anything. It can't mean that. It means nothing. If you're seeing suffering in the world, that's your own suffering projected, your own perceived suffering projected. If you're seeing evil in the world, that's your own perceived evil projected, because it's not here. There's just images. They don't mean anything. It's just what's apparently happening, and it has no purpose. Sorry, it has no meaning. What it does have is a purpose. And the ego's purpose is to keep you living in a virtual reality world, thinking you are an imaginary separate self, an ego who knows what everything means in a world that doesn't mean anything. So the purpose of these meaningless images, from the ego's perspective, is to keep you asleep. Because when you think you know stuff, that's your sleep. That means you're dreaming. When you think you're thinking, it's your dream. Because you will think yourself into a separate self that is separate from everyone else. You're dreaming the dream of self and other, separateness, sin, guilt, and fear. And it's made out of thoughts. That's it. If you want to be awake outside the dream, you have to disidentify from thoughts. Simple. And what you are outside the dream is what everything is, what everyone is. But it's not selves made out of thoughts. They are merely an appearance of what is, the light of the world that's here. And everything and everyone is that. And this is what everything and everyone is, the light of the world. But that's only knowable, well, it can only be what you know yourself to be when you disidentify from thoughts. Because thoughts warp and twist and pervert the real world that's here. They fracture it, they splinter it, they butcher it with labels that seems to set one thing separate from another. None of it's true. It's not here. It's thoughts. That's it. Course in Miracles says this is a journey without distance to a goal that's never changed. You are what is here. You are the one light that's appearing as everything. It's what you are. However, there's a dream going on in your mind made out of thoughts where you are a self apart from everything else that's here, and they're guilty, a lot of them, and they're the cause of your unhappiness. Okay, and that's all made up. Not only is that story about what the images here mean completely fabricated and untrue, but the one it's about, the innocent victim, that one doesn't exist either. That self is totally made out of thoughts and it's not here. Because all that's here is what is. All that's here is the one light that's everything. All that's here is I am without the thought I am. There is just am. There is just being. That is the light that's everything here. And you're not separate from it. There's nothing separate from it because it is everything and everything is this. So thought is the trickster. That's why salvation can be seen as nothing more than the escape from concepts. Okay, so whatever interpretation you've come up with for the world, it doesn't mean that. And you're not being asked to sacrifice something that's real. You're being asked to let go of a delusion that what you've decided the world means, that's actually true, but it's not. The world doesn't mean anything except what you are projecting with thoughts onto the world and then reacting to, which is lunacy, which is the condition that we find ourselves in. Projection makes perception. We look inside first, decide what we are, and that decides the kind of world we want to see, which will confirm that I am this me made of thoughts, an innocent victim. And then we see in the world what we want to see and act in the world and react to the world as though it's all real. And it's not. None of it's real. It's a virtual reality world made of thoughts. Okay, so from chapter 13, section 5, paragraph 2, each one, each apparently separate self, each apparent me, each one peoples his world with figures from his individual past. And it is because of this that private worlds do differ. Yet the figures that he sees were never real, for they were made up only of his reactions to his brothers and do not include their reactions to him. Therefore, he does not see he made them and that they are not whole. For these figures have no witness, being perceived in one separate mind only. So, whatever imaginary separate self you are making up for me as you watch the screen exists only in your mind. If anyone else is if anyone else is here making up a separate self for me, it's completely different than yours. And I am not what anyone thinks me to be. Because what I am cannot be conceptualized or labeled. The minute you say what I am, that means you don't know what I am. The minute I say what you are, that means I don't know what you are. And the only reason I don't know what you are is because I don't know what I am. And the reason I don't know what I am is because I think I'm a self made out of thoughts. And once I have attacked the presence that's here, the light of the world, which is everything, and everything is this, the minute I attack this identity to dive into thoughts and make a self from myself out of thoughts, now I must begin attacking the light of the world everywhere to make up separate selves for everyone else and interact with them as though they're true. I must. We always attack ourselves first. And then we must attack the light of the world everywhere. We must attack what everything is and what is everything to see it as selves, shadow figures I'm making up out of thoughts and acting as if they're real. They're not. It is through these strange and shadowy figures that the insane relate to their insane private world. For they see only those who remind them of these images, and it is to them that they relate. Thus do they communicate with those who are not there. And it is they who answer them, the figures in your mind, made of thoughts that you think are real, but they're not. And no one hears their answer save him who called upon them. So these figures that you've made up out of thoughts, because you've made a figure up out of thoughts for yourself, you're the only one who's interacting with them because they're not real. They're in your head. And no one hears their answer save him who called upon them. And he alone believes they answered him. Projection makes perception. You cannot see beyond it. Again and again, you have attacked your brother because you saw in him a shadow figure in your private world. Your brother is the light of the world. Your brother is what's appearing as everything and everyone. But again and again, you have attacked your brother because you saw in him a shadow figure in your private world. You saw a separate self made of thoughts with a past and a future that you can cannibalize or hate. And thus it is, you must attack yourself first. For what you attack is not in others. It's only realities in your own mind. And by attacking others, you are literally attacking what is not there. In a moment, Eli, I'll volunteer you, Eli, to work with me in a moment. But if somebody else would put their hand up, it'd be nice just to have a second volunteer as well. Thank you. So let's just take another quote. Probably one of the most important in the course. The world you see is what you gave it, nothing more than that. World you see is what you gave it, nothing more than that. There's only images here, and they don't mean anything at all. And yet you are living in an adventure novel made out of meanings that you've made up, all designed to have you misperceive yourself as an innocent victim, as something that can be attacked and lacking and needing and wanting. And the world you've made up confirms that to you just like you want it to in every moment. And none of it's true. The whole thing's made up. Because you're the light of the world. You're not a separate self made out of thoughts. And all the separate selves that you see out there, guilty the lot of them, with pasts and futures, that's all made up as well. None of it's true. There is just what's here. One light appearing as everything. One presence. And you're not separate from that because it's everything. And everything is this. Except in insane thoughts that you think you're thinking, but you're not really thinking, and that mean nothing. So how could there be a distance to what you already are as the light of the world? It's already what's here. There's only a journey in thoughts. That's the only place there's a journey. That's the only place where there's a journeyer is in thoughts. Because there's nobody trying to become the light of the world. There's nobody trying to remember the light of the world. You are the light of the world. Everything else is just tricks of thoughts where you're getting caught up in a story and thinking you're the character in it, but you're not. None of the shadow figures are true, including the one you think you are. The world you see is what you gave it, nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. Therefore, to you, it is important. Now, this means it's important to your awakening. It's important to your journey without a distance. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. All the evil and the fear and the badness and the wrongness and the stuff that out there that shouldn't be out there, and that's all in you. And that's why your imaginary private world is important. Not because it's real, it's totally made up. It has no reality whatsoever. It's nonsense, but it's important because it's the nonsense in your head projected out. There's none of that's in the world. Nothing out there means anything. Literally every meaning you're seeing out there, you're projecting. And because of that, you know what's in your mind and it can be undone through forgiveness. As a man thinketh, so does he perceive, interpret. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. Perception is a result and not a cause. Now, this is where everyone goes wrong. They think A Course in Miracles is going, no, you have to go out there and you have to change the world and you have to heal the body physically and you have to make a change and you have to do all these things. No, you don't. No, you don't. If you think there's anything in the world needs to change, that's a faulty perception. You're in your private virtual reality world thinking you are a self, an imaginary separate self made of thoughts in a body with a past and a future, surrounded by a whole load of people you've made up and fighting wars with them and fighting wars with the body that has nothing to do with you. Perception is a result and not a cause, and that is why order of difficulties and miracles is meaningless. Order of difficulty and miracles is meaningless because nothing means anything except what you've decided it means. And the minute you undo your faulty interpretation of images that don't mean anything, the world is healed and holy by its purpose of being here solely for forgiveness. Everything looked upon with vision, everything is only for forgiveness. Whatever meanings, thoughts are squawking, the sick imaginings in my mind, that's nothing. Doesn't mean anything. It just shows me what I still have to undo in myself through forgiveness. Sin, guilt, and fear. But they've got those thoughts about why the world is this and the world is that and the world did this to me and the world shouldn't be like this and it should be like this. Nonsense. That's nonsense. That's projection. Means nothing like that. You've made that up, and that's why you're in pain. I can be hurt by nothing but my thoughts. Because there's nothing in the world to hurt you. That's an interpretation. That's thoughts. Everything looked upon with vision is healed and holy now. And yet everyone thinks, oh, the body is a certain way, the body is sick. That's an interpretation. And I have to use the course now to change the body. That will make the body healed. No, you've made the error real. You have no vision. You've said the body is not healed. And that means you're living in your virtual reality world where you are a self in a body, and the body means certain things about what you are and who you are, and the body should be some ways and shouldn't be other ways. And all that's made up and nonsense. It's delusion. Everything's already healed and holy. If you don't know that everything is healed and holy now by its purpose, that its only purpose is forgiveness, then you're insane. And now, when you set out to heal your brothers and heal the body, you are an unhealed healer. The unhealed healer begins with the premise something is wrong. Something's not right. Something is not healed and holy. And I, being the holy one, the deluded one, I will now make it healed and holy. You cannot make the error real and then set out to fix it. It's nonsense. If you think something needs to be healed or made holy, you're insane. Everything is already healed and holy, unless you're living in your virtual reality world of meanings. Because the only purpose any of the images here that mean nothing have is forgiveness. To help you to undo sin, guilt, and fear in your mind, remember what you are, which is what all your brothers are, the light of the world, and from there, remember God. That's all this world is for. Everything else you've made up, and all your misery comes from it. Everything looked upon with vision is healed and holy now. There's nothing to heal. There's nothing to make holy. Everything is for forgiveness. That's a holy purpose. Everything is exactly as it should be. I'm not here to change the world. I'm here to use it for the purpose the Holy Spirit gives it, which is to undo sin, guilt, and fear in my mind, remember what I am, and then I go, oh my God, that's what everyone is. That's the one light of the world that's here. No separate selves. One light appearing as separate selves, but still the light of the world. And from there, God can be remembered. Well, that's it. That's all you're here for. There's no other purpose for you being here, apparently, because you're not. But that is the only purpose the world has. That's the only purpose these images have. Everything else you're making up and suffering over. Everything looked upon with vision is healed and holy. Nothing perceived without it means anything. And where there's no meaning, there's chaos. So you take all of the meanings that you've made up about a world that doesn't exist except in your mind, a narrative about images here that don't mean anything. Take an analogy. So imagine I take cartoon pictures with speech bubbles, okay? And they're empty. So all you have is pictures. And I give, many participants have we here at the moment? 138. I give out 138 sheets of this sheet of cartoon pictures with blank dialogue boxes. And I go, why don't you make up a cartoon strip there? And everyone makes up a different one. And they have no relationship to each other whatsoever. That's why the course says you live in a private world. Because all that's here is cartoon characters that mean nothing. All the meanings in your mind, everything you think the world means is your own thoughts projected. Because that's not here. You live in a cartoon where you're an innocent victim with a victimized past and terrifying future and surrounded by assholes. And you're living in a cartoon. That's not what's here. All that's interpretation. That's nonsense. You don't know what you are, and you don't know what the world is because it's not separate. It's not two. Outside of thoughts, once thoughts stop, that whole cartoon world stops. It's gone. And all that's here is one presence as the truth of everything and everyone. The light of the world. It's what A Course in Miracles calls that. Jesus says, you're the light of the world with me. He's not saying, I, Jesus, am the light of the world, and you, imaginary separate self made of thoughts, you're the light of the world with me. He's saying there's only the light of the world. He's saying, I know I'm the light of the world. I don't think I'm Jesus. You think you're a cartoon character you've made up for yourself out of thoughts that lives in time. Now, what if you just escaped concept? What if you forgot everything you ever learned? Forget this world, forget this course, and come with wholly empty hands unto your God without any thoughts. What would you be? You would be what is everywhere, and everywhere is what is here. That's the real world. And the only reason you don't know that that's all that's here is because you think you're thinking thoughts in your mind and that they're true and that you're thinking them and that they make a powerful contribution to the truth and that the cartoon strip that you've made up for yourself is reality. But it's not. It's not. None of it's true. It's all made up. Because the real world's already here. Salvation's done. It's a done deal. The atonement is finished. It ended the moment it started. It was only a thought. One wrong thought. Separateness is real. There is a me. That was your one wrong thought. And it's like a maths equation. You get the first line wrong. And every single line after that is wrong because everything is based on one faulty premise. There is a separate self. There is a me. But there's not. That's a story. That's a collection of thoughts that you're going, oh, that's what I am. No, you're not. No, you're not. If thoughts stop, what are you? There's just the light of the world. There is just the presence, the stillness, the emptiness that is everything. And everywhere you look is what you are. When there is the escape from concepts, which are making up the world you think you live in that isn't here. You're living in a conceptual thought constructed virtual reality, a matrix of self and other that doesn't exist. And no one else shares your particular flavor of delusion. Your private world that isn't real is completely different than everyone else's. Because the world doesn't mean anything. And its only purpose is forgiveness. Which is looking at the meaning you're trying to put onto the world with thoughts and going, that's in me. That's my wrongness. Everywhere I look into the world and go, that's wrong. People are wrong. That's your belief in your own wrongness because you think you're an ego. That's wrong. You think you're a me that exists in contravention of God's creation where there's just oneness and non-duality. And that wrongness that you feel as a me is intolerable. And so you deny it and you split it off and you project it out onto the images that don't mean anything. And you go, they're wrong. Someone's wrong on the internet. This is a big problem. I need to do something about this. I need to tell them how wrong they are. And I've got to get everyone else to agree with me about how wrong they are. Nothing's wrong. It's just what's apparently happening. Your opinion on it is nonsense. It's about yourself. It's got nothing to do with the world whatsoever. Because the world doesn't mean anything. It's just thoughts. One thought, there is a me, there is a separateness, there has been a separation. I'm not what God is, I'm something different. One faulty thought. And from it came an entire thought system, which is wrong. A thought system of sin and guilt and fear and suffering and sacrifice and badness and evil and malice and fair and unfair. And it's nonsense. None of your thoughts are true. All of them are seeking to twist and warp and pervert the real world that's here. But they don't, except in your mind. If you stop believing thoughts, that all goes away, and there's just what's here. And there's no separation anywhere. Because it's only a thought. Okay. Chapter 8, Section 7, Paragraph 5. Yet all loss comes only from your own misunderstanding. Loss of any kind is impossible. So there's just what's here. One light appearing as people being born and people living and dying and killing each other and killing themselves and awfulness and war and plague, and then there's death. Those are appearances. They're not real. They don't mean anything because there's just one full emptiness of being, hearing as images that mean nothing. And it's still the light of the world. The light of the world isn't being born and suffering and dying and participating in wars. Those are appearances of the light of the world. Those are the appearances of presence, but the appearances, they're not real. Only what they are an appearance of. And it's one. It's what's here. It's what you actually are. And it's appearing as everything. And everything is this. The forms, the broken pieces seem to take me nothing, for the whole is in each one. And every aspect of the Son of God is just the same as every other part. How holy is the smallest grain of sand when it is recognized as being part of the completed picture of God's Son? Not because it's a grain of sand. That's nothing. That's an appearance. That's absolutely nothing. It is the one consciousness that's appearing as everything. The one dreamer appearing as its dream. That's all that's here. But all the meanings are made up. The world you think is out there is only in your head. And it's just a mirror of what you think of yourself. The self you think you are, that you're not, because you are what's everything, and everything is what you are. It's not two, it's one. And the only thing that's veiling this from you is identification with thoughts. Not thoughts, they're nothing. Your identification with thoughts. You think they're real. You think they mean something. You think they make a powerful contribution to the truth and make it what it is. And you think you're thinking them, but none of that's true. None of that's true. Because you already are the light of the world. You don't have to become it. For you to think that you need to become the light of the world, first of all, you have to believe that you're a self made out of thoughts, which hides from you that you already are the light of the world. And then, as the delusion, you go looking to become what you still are, except that you're believing a lie. And the more seeking you do to become something, all it does is cement the lie that you're something that is not what you already are. Undo your identification with thoughts, and what you are is already here. And it's what everyone is. But it's not a me thought. It's not a self concept made out of thoughts. That's just a lie you believe about what you are. But what you are is what everything is. And everything is what you are. That's why the Course says always remember that your identity is shared. And its sharing is its reality. So whatever you think about yourself that's different from everyone else, they're thoughts. That's your virtual reality world, thinking you're something that doesn't exist. It's not your identity. You can be deluded. You can be deceived. I am this separate self. God, I have suffered. um, it's not true. They're thoughts. They've got nothing to do with you. Thoughts can tell you nothing about what you are. And thoughts can tell you nothing about what your brother is, because it's one. All right. So thoughts, not even thoughts, but identification with thoughts are the problem. Stop believing them. Stop getting involved in them. Stop thinking they're true. Come home, rest in God, stay here. Don't get involved in thoughts. And when sin, guilt, and fear comes up in your mind, you'll be so tempted to jump back into thoughts and tell yourself stories about the world that's not here and the bad people that don't exist and how they've caused your suffering even though they're not there. And the one who is suffering doesn't exist. Okay. And the miracle is how you come back out of madness. You allow the sin, guilt, and fear in your own mind to be here without thoughts. And are trying to construct a guilty world that you can blame instead of yourself for choosing to be something you're not, a self made out of thoughts. So lesson 4 says the good ones, thoughts, are but shadows of what lies beyond, outside of thoughts, and shadows make sight difficult. So the Course is not saying, now use thoughts to think to yourself, what will it be like now when I let thoughts go? That's a thought. Let them all go. And what's here is what you are. So the good ones are but shadows of what lies beyond, and shadows make sight difficult. The bad ones are blocks to sight and make seeing impossible. You do not want either. Now, that's not saying you go to war with thoughts. Thoughts are not the problem. Your identification with thoughts, you're believing them, you're thinking them, thinking that they're true, they're not. How could your thoughts about the world be true when the world doesn't mean anything? Good thoughts or the bad thoughts? It's not there. The world doesn't mean anything. It's purely for forgiveness. It has no meaning. Chapter 15, section 5, paragraph 6. Any relationship you would substitute for another has not been offered to the Holy Spirit for his use. There is no substitute for love. If you would attempt to substitute one aspect of love for another, you have placed less value on one and more on the other. You have not only separated them, but you have also judged against both. Yet you had judged against yourself first, or you would never have imagined that you needed your brothers as they were not. Unless you had seen yourself as without love, you could not have judged them, so like you in lack. So, so you wouldn't need, well, okay, so if you are looking at this image on your screens and you're thinking, oh, this is an exalted spiritual teacher, okay? Um, or you wouldn't have to go too far on the internet to find people saying I'm the devil, leading people astray. um, but if you look at me and go, oh, he's so okay, well, it doesn't matter which side of the fence you're on. If you're going, okay, he's an exalted teacher, this is great. He's much more, advanced than me, and he gets it better than other teachers, you know. Um, you've attacked me. You've attacked me, but only because you attacked yourself first. So if you think I'm better than somebody else, you've attacked that person and me and yourself. And if you think I'm more the devil than anyone else, you've attacked me and everyone else and yourself. Because you're seeing egos. You've considered yourself a shadow figure, and you consider me a holy shadow figure or an unholy shadow figure. And either way, you don't know what's here. You don't know what everything is. You don't know the light that's everything and that everything is this light, which is the quiet center, the stately calm, the presence that's always here. So lesson 4 is saying, listen, you don't want the good thoughts or the bad ones. You don't want to be out there going, these are good people. What's that? You're attacking everyone that's not as good as these people, but you're also attacking the people you think are good. Because there's no people, there's an appearance of people. There's one Son of God, one light, one presence that's appearing as everything and everyone. And it's already here. It's already here. Everything is this now. And this is the light that reflects heaven. And it's here. But you're busy thinking someone's a good person, which means you're attacking everyone that's a bad person. And there's no people. There's an appearance of people. That's all. So if you get rid of one husband, yeah, he was bad. You get a new husband, you go, no, he's fabulous. He's such a good husband. You're attacking them both. You've attacked them both because you've attacked yourself. Where's shared identity? Where's presence? You're still in your virtual reality world made out of thoughts that you're a shadow figure and this was a bad shadow figure and this is a good shadow figure, and you're attacking presence, the light of the world, the real world, everywhere. But it's all happening in thoughts. None of it's true. It's just thoughts. It's just a virtual reality game. You're playing this virtual reality game and you don't realize that the game avatar isn't you and that you've made the game up and it's rigged. You've rigged the game so you will constantly be an innocent victim, and the guilt is going to be out there in the other characters in the game that you've made up, and you don't know you're playing until thoughts stop. And all that's here is one presence as the truth of everything and everyone. So the whole delusion is just made out of thoughts identified with. Once they stop, it's not here. There's no separateness. It's just not here. Thoughts. It's your own private hell. And it's not here. All that's here is the light that reflects heaven. That's all that's here. And nothing apart from it to have opinions on it. That's a thought. And the one that would do that is a thought. But it's not here. So, chapter 15, section 5, paragraph 8. Everyone on earth has formed special relationships. And although this is not so in heaven, the Holy Spirit knows how to bring a touch of heaven to them here. So they reflect heaven. In the holy instant, no one is special, which means no one is separate and no one is different. For your personal needs intrude on no one to make your brothers seem different. How could they be different? One light is appearing as everyone, which is an illusion, but the light is unchanging. It's the same light everywhere. It's the same quiet center everywhere. Without the values from the past, thoughts, you would see them all the same and like yourself. Nor would you see any separation between yourself and them. In the holy instant, you see in each relationship what it will be when you perceive only the present. Without thoughts, everyone is the same presence that you are. Chapter 30. Your brother has a changelessness in him beyond appearance, which is the body, and deception, which is the body, and your thoughts about what your brother is. It is obscured by changing views of him, your perception that you're projecting, the thoughts in your mind that you think are apply to your brother and don't. Your brother is a changelessness in him. That's what your brother is. He's changeless, and so are you. Everything else is nonsense. Just thoughts that you're believing that aren't true. Your brother is a changelessness in him beyond appearance and deception both. It is obscured by changing views of him that you perceive as his reality. Well, it's not his reality because what he is isn't changing. Only your thoughts are changing and you think they apply to your brother, but they don't. You are changelessness. Only your thoughts about what you are changing, and they've got nothing to do with what you are because you're changeless. Concept of the self has always been the great preoccupation of the world, and everyone believes that he must find the answer to the riddle of himself. What am I? Who am I? What is this me? And salvation can be seen as nothing more than the escape from concepts. Whatever thoughts say you are, you're not. What you are is unknowable. It's what the escape from concepts means. What you are is unknowable. You can only know what you're not. If I tell you, forgetting about the fact that there's a computer showing you a reflection of yourself, that isn't you, it's just a reflection for one moment. So, for putting that out of your mind, if I say to you, I want you to look at your eyes, you can't. You would have to somehow separate yourself from the eyes and turn back again and look at the eyes, and the eyes can't do that. So if I say, look at your eyes, you can't. You can only look at everything that is not your eyes. That's all you can look at. Look around the room, twist your head. All you can see is what is not your eyes. What you can't see are your own eyes. In the same way, what you are is unknowable. You can only know what you're not. You can know thoughts, feelings, memories, emotions, a body, other bodies, the world. These are appearances. You can only know perceptions, sensations. You can only know what you're not. What you are is unknowable. If ever a thought tells you you are, that's not what you are. That's something you're not. Because there's no thinking going on in what you are. It is the holy place that thoughts can enter not. It is the quiet center. It is the stately calm. And it's here, no matter what thoughts say. It's here. But there's nothing can be said about it. You can't think anything about it. You can't turn it into a concept. What you are is unknowable. That would require thoughts, and thoughts are liars. What you are is changeless and unknowable. What your brother is changeless and unknowable. It just is. Everything else is thoughts you're making up and projecting onto what you are and projecting onto what the world is. And none of it's true. Perfect. So I have volunteered my lovely co-host Eli, and Marcy has kindly raised her hand. So Eli, could I get you to invite Marcy to unmute herself?
Thank you.
Super. So I just want both Eli and Marcy, just to work with this form. I want everyone to work with this, but it's helpful to kind of see someone going through the process and asking questions. And so let's do that. So in this moment, if you are perceiving, if you are seeing the image of this particular body in front of you, and there is no thought activity whatsoever going on in your mind, would it be possible for you to know me as anything other than the unknowable?
Oh,
Marcy?
I agree with that. No.
So for you to think that I am the knowable and the changing requires you to have thoughts in your mind that are being projected onto what I am, and then you interact with them as if they're true. I will be one of the shadow figures in your private world. Now, if there is no thoughts going on in the mind, and there doesn't have to be no thoughts, you just have to understand, well, there's thoughts. They don't mean anything. They're not true. They don't mean anything. I'm not thinking them. So you don't have to go to war with thoughts. You don't have to stop them. But you do have to understand that they're just thoughts and they don't mean anything. They're not true. So again, with no thoughts in your mind, is it possible for you to know me as something other than changelessness and other than the unknowable?
With no thoughts?
Mhm.
How would I know that?
Exactly. So could you know me as anything other than the unknowable and the unchanging?
With no thoughts? It would just be there,
I would
wouldn't it?
just be, I would just be what is.
Yeah.
Mhm. And could I be something that changes if
No,
you don't have any thoughts in your mind?
not if I have no thoughts.
And could I be anything other than unknowable?
Well, if I'm in the quiet center, I see you as the quiet center. So that's
Well,
what's the, isn't the
don't
knowable.
no, don't go into thoughts on me.
Okay, okay. All right.
Thoughts grabbed a hold of you there. You were like, oh my God, I have these thoughts about this. These are going to make a powerful contribution to the truth. But what I'm saying to you is let all thoughts go. Is there anything here except the unknowable and the unchanging?
No.
Eli?
No,
Okay,
it's
this is very important because that's all that's here.
Yeah.
That's all that's here. Everything else is thoughts, made up thoughts in your mind, projected onto something that doesn't mean anything
Hmm.
and that you're interacting with as though it's true.
So what
Um,
can I just say one thing? Because
sure.
what I'm interacting with while you're asking me these questions is all the distractions behind me and making them real. So
Well,
but I'm trying to concentrate. So it's hard for
well,
me to even concentrate when I'm making something else real while I'm thinking about the unknown.
yeah, but all you're saying is, how can I know what's true when I keep jumping into thoughts and interpretations?
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's
Right.
what A Course in Miracles is saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just exactly what we're saying. Because
Yeah.
everything in the room, okay, so Marcy, in this moment, without thoughts, I am the unknowable and the unchanging. Without thoughts, the things that are happening in the room, can they be anything other than the unknowable and the
Right.
unchanging?
So I'm making a differentiation between where you're leading us to a distraction in my mind
Well, I'm just
in
saying
some way.
that
Yeah. It's the same thing that's happening, but
without,
I'm denying that that's happening.
yeah. So without thoughts, there is only one light
Right.
of unknowable, unchanging presence everywhere, in everyone, and in
Right.
everything. Everything else you're making up and interacting with it as though it's true, but it's not.
Right.
So, Marcy and Eli, we are agreed that without thoughts in your mind that would project something else here, without thoughts, all that's here is changelessness and unknowability. And without thoughts in your mind, can you be anything other than the changeless and the unknowable?
No.
Now, try this one for me. If you are looking here at an image of what is changeless and unknowable, can it be other than you without thoughts?
No.
No, it can't. And in the very practical being of this, at later stage realization, it's the experience of being in two places at once.
Films with the guy dressed up like a bush steer and Halloween trick or treaters.
Not sure where
So,
that's coming from.
yeah, I don't know. Nobody's coming up on the screen with it. Seems to have gone now anyway. Okay, that's not in your house, Marcy, or in
It is
your
in my
house?
house.
Oh, it is.
We,
Okay. No, okay,
yeah,
we know where it is. That's
I
fine.
was
That's
hoping that you wouldn't hear it, but you
that's
will hear
okay.
it. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm
but it doesn't
trying. Yes, my
mean
ego
anything.
is going
Doesn't
like,
mean
I gotta
anything.
work.
Doesn't
Yes,
mean
you're right.
anything.
I
Doesn't
don't
mean
even have to
anything.
work on it, right? I do not have anything to work on if I'm staying,
Sure.
which is a good
Okay, so
example.
I hope everyone, thank you very much for that, Marcy and Eli, because that's all that's here. That's the light of the world that's here. It's unknowable and it's unchanging, and everywhere you look is what you are, as the unknowable and the unchanging. Everything else is a virtual reality hell, a private world you've made up and that isn't here. That is what A Course in Miracles means when it says projection makes perception. And that is why the first lesson in the workbook, nothing means anything. And the second lesson, nothing I've given everything I see, all the meaning it has for me, are probably the two most important lessons in the entire course. Everything in the course, forgiveness and healing, prayer, everything depends on you understanding. Nothing means anything. Its only purpose is forgiveness, but it means nothing. And you've made up what you think everything means, and it doesn't mean that. And of course, it's essential to understand the Holy Spirit's unification of purpose. And the Holy Spirit says, so listen, the world doesn't mean anything. You've made it all up. And you're miserable and you're unhappy. And you've been seeking and resisting from 2 years old until today years old, and nothing has worked. So if you're ready for the other way, the world doesn't mean anything. Its only purpose is forgiveness. Which means when you choose the Holy Spirit as your teacher, you don't get to say, this should have happened, this shouldn't have happened, people can't do that, people should do this is not what the way it's meant to be. No, this is wrong, it shouldn't be like this. Okay, that's gone. Okay, so enough of the baby business. That's gone. You don't get that anymore. Done. Okay, your war with how the world is, that ends. It's based on nonsense. Everything should be exactly as it is because its only purpose is this forgiveness process where you're going to witness images that don't mean anything. And awfulness is going to come up in your mind and you're going to go, the images did it to me. Okay. And the course is going to go, okay, don't mind them thoughts. That's nonsense. Escape from concepts, which are lies, but stay with the awfulness. This is the sin, guilt, and fear you made up. And all you have to do is witness it without going into thoughts about it, that the bad images did it to me. No, they didn't. It was in you, and you made the world to blame instead of looking at it inside of you. Because the ego thought system told you if you look within, your eyes will light on sin and God will strike you blind. But the Holy Spirit and A Course in Miracles is saying to you, no, 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 no. Don't get involved in thoughts. Look at the awfulness in you without the lie that the bad images did it to you. And the awfulness will vanish as an illusion because you made it up. And you remember the light of the world, everything as the light, and this light has everything and everyone. And from there, you remember God. Right. Would anyone
Can I
like
just
to?
say,
I have,
Yes.
I have a question too, after you.
Okay, right. Well, we start with you two. If anyone else has a question, you can put your virtual hand in the air.
Okay.
well, it's not a
Um,
question, just from my experience, because you talked about thoughts being nothing. And I'm going to just say I've been practicing that, or faking it till I'm making it sort of idea. And I end up in what I call my blissful nothingness. Like it's
Yeah.
blissful. It's
Yeah, beautiful.
because I watch these thoughts and it's almost like I can see the words of the thoughts and I just want to slap them away. And I just sit there laughing and it's just, and you
Yeah.
just, it's wow.
Yeah. And we could sum the entire Course in Miracles up into two words. Resist nothing. You would be the unknowable, the unchanging that is here resisting nothing in the world and resisting nothing about thoughts and resisting nothing about the sin, guilt, and fear that wants to come up and clear itself. And you'd be home. As much as I try to come up with millions of different ways to talk about the same thing over and over and over again every week, and forgiveness, the best explanation of forgiveness I can give you is oppose nothing. Resist nothing. You will remember what you are in the middle of what you're not, and what you're not will fall away. And it'll take you all the way home. Just resist nothing. So in terms of your thoughts, you can't resist your thoughts. You can't go to war with them. You can't try and suffocate them and push them down and go, no, I don't want them, get away from me. You can't do that. You can only remember the light of the world through total non-opposition. Now, where everyone gets this wrong is they think, oh, I got to stop these opposing thoughts. I got to change these thoughts. I got to stop them, got to fight them, got to make them different. No, they're not you. They're nothing. They are an appearance. They have nothing to do with you. So you have to not oppose the double shield of oblivion. The first shield of oblivion is the world and what's happened. Well, this is really the second shield of oblivion, which is the world. You mustn't oppose the world. You must allow the world to be exactly what it is with no desire that it be different and no thought that it could be different. That's one level of opposition taken care of, the second shield of oblivion. And you do that by switching the world's purpose, the Holy Spirit's unification of purpose. Everything is for one thing, forgiveness. I don't need thoughts. because they're all lies. Everything's just for forgiveness. That's it. Um, that's the second shield of oblivion taken care of by non-opposition. Now, this first shield of oblivion is sin, guilt, and fear. So the wrongness and the sin and the fear and the hatred and the upset, okay, you made all this up to prove there was a self here that was sinful, guilty, and evil. There's not, okay? That's the me, the cardboard cutout that isn't here. Um, so you don't have to do anything with the opposition thoughts ranting and raving in your mind except oppose them not. So you allow the world, seek not to change the world, seek to change your mind about the world. It's only for forgiveness. And so it should be thus. And whatever thoughts are doing in your mind, that's part of the world. It's not you. It's part of appearances. And now there is the awfulness, wrongness, sin, guilt, fear. Okay, that's in you that you kept thinking was in the world, but there's nothing in the world. The world is just changelessness and one light appearing as everything. So all the awfulness was never anywhere else except in your mind. And all you have to do is not oppose that. So you've now given up opposition to the two shields of oblivion. Remember, the first shield of oblivion against what you are is sin, guilt, and fear, the awfulness. And the second shield of oblivion is the world and thoughts, which were made as a defense against the first shield of oblivion. So sin, guilt, and fear is the defense against the truth of what you are that cannot oppose. And the world is the defense against the sin, guilt, and fear. It's the first, so you start where you're at in the world and go, it should be thus. I can't oppose this and I won't. Let all things be exactly as they are. It could not be otherwise. Because the only purpose of everything is this forgiveness process, which means I now look at the opposition thoughts, ranting and raving, and I look at the sin, guilt, and fear in behind this. All the awfulness that's in me that's mad to blame. Oh, the images did it to me. I can't believe it. I was perfectly fine until the images did that. You allow the pain to be here and you don't oppose it. And the light of the world is here and it will shine everything away. So thanks for that, Eli. So yes, you're not your thoughts. They have nothing to do with you. And the minute you realize that, when you start to realize it first, it's quite giddy. And it starts to feel, and it brings in shades of love, and oneness and non-duality and formlessness even. It starts bringing in little flavors of those that will become much stronger down the line when you learn how to rest in God outside of thoughts. Which doesn't mean there's no thoughts, it's just they don't mean anything. They're just part of the appearances, like bodies. But there's no identity in them. And they don't mean anything. And the world is not what they say they are. And I am not what thoughts say I am. Because what I am is unknowable. There's nothing can be said about it. Can't be turned into a concept. Cool. Thank you, Eli. Marcia, was there something you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I was wondering about, because sometimes I flip around with like what work I've done with Katie, with Byron Katie. So is there a point to labeling the ego thought in the beginning? Because now I can't use the word I, but whatever. In terms of, I don't think I need to make interpretations anymore if I make that choice to, that's what the decision is. But my fallback is like, oh, let's look at the feelings I'm accusing them of, and then I can see it in me. And that's how I kind of learned what projection was. But I don't know if that's useful or useless.
Well, don't tie yourself in knots in it. I mean, that sounds to me just like what we're talking about. Because
Okay.
again, if the feelings weren't in you, could you see the images as causing them?
If they're in me?
If the images are not in you,
Oh,
could
okay.
you see the images as causing the feelings?
Not if they weren't there.
Exactly. And so, and so, if they are here, it's because they're here that you think the images are causing them.
Right.
Okay, so nothing in the world is purely an effect. There is
Mhm.
no cause in the world. There's not even cause and effect in the world. So there is no cause in the world. So the world is not putting feelings in you.
Mhm.
Feelings are in you. You made the world in order to look at it with these feelings glowing inside of you, and you're
Mhm.
attaching the feelings to what's happening in the world,
Right.
but
Right.
they've got no connection to it whatsoever.
Okay. So it's not necessarily, it's not even a step you would mention in terms of working
Well,
with the
look,
lessons.
at the
But
end
it
of the
just
day,
is. It just is.
at the end of the day, we have right-minded thoughts. You must understand, for you to remember what you are, there needs to be a gap in the thought stream.
Okay.
Okay, thoughts are the problem. That's the thorn. All right, not even thoughts, but identification with thoughts, right? So
Mhm. Mhm.
identification with thoughts is the problem. And the miracle comes quietly into the mind that stops an instant and is still. There is
Okay.
a gap in the thought stream where I remember what I am, where there's no thoughts. The holy place where thoughts can enter not. Where I can remember that what I am is unknowable, and therefore everything thoughts are saying I am is untrue. Because what I am is unknowable, but I need a gap in the thought stream for that. And so we have right-minded thoughts. And that just means when you're in your private hell, your virtual reality world made of thoughts, where you think you're a self made of thoughts, with problems made of thoughts, with the other people that you've made up made of thoughts. Okay, when you're in that, you need something that's going to bring a gap about in the thought stream. And a right-minded thought will do that. So you introduce a right-minded thought, which is consciously wielded, all right, and its purpose is to bring thought identification to an end. So in the middle of this madness, you can say to yourself, this will be right-minded thoughts, I am not a body, physical or psychological. I am free. I'm still as God created me. Gap. The light of the world is here, presence. The unknowable, the unspeakable, the changeless, outside of thoughts. It's here. Now, the mistake people make is that they use right-minded thoughts like mantras or like affirmations. This is a huge mistake. All thought identification is a thorn. So if you're lost in your world of thoughts, thinking you're a self made of thoughts with problems made of thoughts caused by other people that you've made up out of thoughts because there's nothing here but the one light of the world, when you're in that, okay, you introduce thoughts that's going to rescue you from your private hell and bring you into the holy instant. So you don't say, I am not a body, I'm free, I'm still as God created me, I'm not a body, I'm free, I'm still as God created me, and go around the house telling yourself that and making love to the right minded thoughts. Okay? How is that helpful? That's no better than the thought stream you were in. Okay? You're still in the virtual reality world of thoughts. So that's nonsense. It's useless. This is the mistake people make when they start trying to make love to right minded thoughts and they start trying to cling to concepts. Salvation can be seen as nothing more than the escape from concepts. The bad ones, Like lesson 4 says, and the good ones. You don't want either of them. The good ones are to unhook you from the bad ones, but then let both of them go and let the silence have you. Let the holy instant have you. Put down all the thorns. Wrong-minded thoughts are thorns. You use a right-minded thought, which is a thorn, to remove a thorn, but if you don't drop it, you're still in thorns. Right-minded thought is how you free yourself from thoughts. So the mind can stop an instant and be still, and in that stillness you remember that's right. What I am is unknowable. So nothing thoughts are telling me is true. And what I am is changeless. So these changing thoughts about what I am are meaningless. They apply to no one. And in this holy instant, what I am is clearly what everyone is. Because again, without thoughts going on here, I look at my brother, and how could he be other than what I am? Only thoughts could create that illusion. Without thoughts, my brother is the unknowable changelessness that I am. And when I see my brother that way, that's what A Course in Miracles calls healing. Because what my brother is can't be sick, wasn't born, can't die, has nothing to do with a body. When I know what I am, and I know that's what my brother is, that's what joining is. That's why the Course says there is no gap. And so that's healing. And that's very powerful. I refuse to join my brother in his dreams of what he is, his virtual reality hell made of thoughts, where he's a separate self surrounded by other separate selves, a victim of the body with a past and a future. His nonsense. If I look at my brother with no thoughts about what my brother is, what I see is the truth of what my brother is, which is what I am. Presence, the light of the world. Pure awareness. Not someone in awareness, not someone with awareness, but awareness itself and nothing else in it. And it's appearing as everything without ever ceasing to be itself. That's the real world. That's the holy instant. That's what healing is. It's from here I forgive my brother for what he didn't do. What did he do? Nothing. That was all of my thoughts. Who did he do something on? A thought. A self made of thoughts. The Course is very clear. You can't be persecuted. You can't be attacked. How could presence be attacked? How could presence be affected by anything? Only thoughts can. Brilliant. Thank you, Marcy. And
Thank you.
thank you, Eli. So shall we go to Rico Cruz then, if you're happy to invite Rico to take himself off mute, Eli?
Thank you. Good morning, family and friends. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you. I send you love and light from my heart to yours. Keith, thank you so much for what you're sharing and your love and service. I'm overwhelmed, but I do have one silly question, and that is, if or when I am able to interact with the external world, not being driven by thought, would forgiveness and love become as natural to me as breathing?
Ultimately, yes. Ultimately, yes. So for the likes of Jesus, whose only reality was the real world, then 100%, there's no more effort. The end of this journey would be total non-opposition. It would be that there is nothing opposing anything or anyone. Everything is simply what is. So Really, at that point, our early understanding of forgiveness, which is kind of forgiving our decision for the ego, that's kind of come to an end because there's no more ego at that point. There is nothing here that considers itself apart from everything else. And there is nothing here in opposition to anything. Um, so I guess this is really outside of forgiveness in the sense that it's just reality. It's just the real world. I was going to say reality. It's not quite reality, but it is a reflection of reality. Um, so we're all moving towards the real world, where, and again, getting there just, I mean, enlightenment is nothing except that there is absolutely zero opposition left to anything. That's enlightenment. In the absence of any opposition whatsoever, all that is here is the unknowable and the unchanging, and that's all that can be seen anywhere. So really with our forgiveness process, we're going through layers and layers of the ego, and there's nothing to the ego apart from opposition. And really forgiveness is where we're looking at the ego's opposition and we're not opposing it. And by doing that, we know what we are that can't oppose. And that which seems to oppose is getting melted away. So again, what I am is unknowable. I can only know what I'm not. And to be what is unknowable, I simply have to not oppose the world and not oppose my ego. The minute there's no opposition, which is what forgiveness is, what is unknowable is here, what is changeless is here. And before this presence, the ego will dissolve. It will melt away as the illusion that it is. Gradually, slowly, until there's no ego left, until all there is this presence. So I guess we're really learning, first of all, to know this presence that, well, we can't really know it, to be this presence that is unknowable and unspeakable and changeless. And we are this in the middle of sin, guilt, and fear and thoughts. And at the end of this process, all that's left is that presence. That's really our process. So, yeah, that's how we get there. So I hope that answers that question, Rico. Cool. Thank you very much, sir. Shall we go to Martian next, then Eli?
Hi. Just a quick one. Don't want to go on and on. We're talking about knowing, and you were saying when Eli and Marcy were doing the exercise, I'm looking at you and I can't know you. Well, obviously, from the ego perspective, I can't know you. But I thought that in the Holy Spirit, right mind, that I know you as Christ when I'm Christ. And you were using the word unknowable. Unknowable is heaven, is God, right? And so when you're in your right mind, in the moment, in the holy instant, not Marcia can know, not Keith.
No.
What I asked.
Because that would imply there are two lights of the world. It would imply that separation is real. It would, because the Course says the ego is legion, the illusion, the separate selves that don't exist. The ego is legion, the Holy Spirit is one. So in actual fact, I can only be what you are. So the only way for me to know, in inverted commas, what you are is to be it. Because it's unknowable. because it is the escape from concepts. If I try to turn it into a concept, I'm back in the wrong mind.
Okay.
If I'm trying to come up with, turn it into a concept and say I can make descriptions of this and I can say what it
Mhm,
is, no, I
mhm.
can't. No, I
No,
can't.
no,
Because
no.
that doesn't exist
All
in the
right.
light of the world. Now, don't get me wrong, the light of the world is appearing as all of that because it's appearing as everything. Okay, but the light of the world itself isn't um isn't knowable. It is the unknowable appearing as the known, but it's always the unknowable. It is nothing appearing as something, but it's still nothing. It is light appearing as a light show, but it's still light, and it's still one.
Oh, okay.
So the
Okay.
only way for me to be the unknowable is through non-opposition, and forgiveness is the way we do that. So the first thing I have to do, no matter what Marcia is doing in the world, no matter what behavior there's a body doing, I have to switch its purpose and not oppose it. The Course says it is not your job to fix your brother. It's your job to accept your brother exactly as he is. So no matter what the figure of Marcia is doing in my dream, I have to end opposition to it. I have to accept it exactly as it is, because its only purpose is for me to work this forgiveness. Okay,
Wow.
so I cannot oppose what a dream figure is doing. Now,
Okay,
it
got
doesn't
that.
mean that from my right mind there won't be an action taken, but it won't come from opposition.
Right. Okay.
Like there could be an action taken to protect an innocent or to intervene on someone's behalf, but it will not come from opposition. If it does, it's wrong-minded. So no matter what the dream figure Marcia is up to, my job is purely to accept it and not oppose it, because it should be happening. And its only purpose is for me to see sin, guilt, and fear coming up in my mind, trying to project onto the dream figure Marcia. So I can't oppose dream figures. I must accept dream figures exactly as they are. Otherwise, I can't remember what I am, because what I am can't oppose. It's incapable of opposition. It's incapable of fixation. So as long as I'm going, well, Marcia shouldn't be doing that. That's a bad thing she did there. That people shouldn't do that. That's opposition. I can't remember what I am. I'm lost to my virtual reality hell. I have to accept that whatever Marcia's doing, that's perfect, because its only purpose is for me to work this forgiveness.
Got it.
So now I'm accepting that whatever Marcia's doing, that's perfect. And there's awfulness coming up here that thoughts were trying to accuse Marcia of doing. Now, I can't oppose them either. So this awful feeling and thoughts trying to blame it onto Marcia, I can't oppose this, or I can't remember what I am.
Right, right.
If I'm trying to fix feelings and make them go away, and I'm trying to change thoughts, and I'm trying to have holy thoughts about Marcia instead of unholy thoughts about Marcia, this is nonsense. This is still opposition. I have not changed my mind. I have to not oppose anything. The world has to be accepted as it is. Seek not to change the world. Seek to change your mind about the world. It has one purpose, this forgiveness process. Let it be.
Mhm.
Let all things be exactly as they are. Now, thoughts are flying here, trying to get rid of the sin, guilt, and fear onto the images that don't mean anything.
Mhm.
And I have to let all things be exactly as they are here. Resist nothing, oppose nothing. But in that minute where there's no opposition of the world or opposition thoughts or awfulness, in the minute this is all allowed and there's no opposition to it, this total letting go, the light of the world is here. What is unknowable, what is unchanging, pure presence.
That's where I got stuck when you said that's unknowable.
Yeah. Because you need thoughts to think you know. A Course in Miracles says,
Oh,
I
okay.
do not.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
A
I got
Course in
it.
Miracles says, I do not know what anything is for.
Right.
Everyone thinks the Course is saying, well, you're identified as an ego and you don't know what it's for. And therefore, at some point, the Holy Spirit will tell you what it's for. No. Hear me well. enlightenment is not knowing.
Right.
That's enlightenment.
Okay.
That's the end of the journey. Not
Because
knowing.
we can't possibly know that now anyway. I mean, when we still think we're thinking. I mean,
But
but when we stop thought,
ultimately, what you are is unknowable.
unknowable to who? See,
Exactly.
I feel like I'm back
Exactly.
in third
No, no, no,
grade.
no. But listen, see, if I say to you, Marcia, have a look at your eyes there. Can you see your eyes?
Only as a reflection.
Yeah, but that's not your eyes. So can you see your actual eyes?
No.
Okay, but if you look around the room, you can see everything except your eyes.
Yeah, okay. Right.
Okay, it is exactly the same with what you are. It cannot be known. It's too close. For you to know what you are, you would have to separate yourself and look back at what you are and have an opinion on it. That's duality. That's a split
Okay.
mind.
Right.
Okay. So you can only know what you're not. You can know thoughts happening, feelings happening, emotions happening, stories, memories, bodies,
Mhm.
worlds. You can know all of that. What you can't know is what you are, because salvation is nothing more than the escape from concepts. If you have a concept for what you are, that is a concept holding a concept about what you are. Because salvation is the escape from concepts. It's not knowing.
So when we reach that point,
But you're there.
when
See, if that thought, when I reach that point, if that thought's not there, where are you?
I don't know.
The
I mean,
point.
where in
At the point.
I guess what I'm confused. I'm just thinking of like I know I'm thinking and it's concept, but like we can't know knowledge. Jesus tells us in the book, you only go up to a certain point with this course, and after that, God takes the next step and pulls us back. Now I'm visualizing and thinking about that,
Yeah,
and
but
He says
visualizing
that
our thoughts, Marcia, you've jumped into your thoughts and you think you can understand. The Course says, think you that you can bring truth to fantasy and understand truth from illusions.
no,
Truth means nothing in illusions. Its
okay,
only context is itself. You're trying to bring the truth into a thinking mind and go, well, what's in it for me? Nothing.
yeah.
Because the thinking mind, there's no mind, there's just thoughts, and you're already the light of the world. So all you're doing is you're diving into thoughts and going, thoughts will save me. I can understand this with my thoughts. I got to get to this with thoughts.
Right.
And A Course in Miracles is going, no, you won't.
Yeah.
That's madness. No, all you do is you let them all go and you're there. You get there by realizing you're already here. Thoughts were just deceiving you. You thought you were thinking. But what you are isn't thinking. It's the light of the world. It's appearing as thinking, but it's not
Mhm.
thinking.
Mhm.
So you
Okay.
see, the Course says, brother, take not one step on the stairway to hell, or you will not recognize all the rest for what they are and they will follow. If you believe one thought, if you go in and go, oh, I have this thought now, I should have thoughts about this thought, and I should ask other people for their answers to this, you're on the stairway to hell. Once you believe one thought, you will believe every thought behind that, and you will totally misperceive yourself. You will misperceive the world. You will misperceive all your brothers. You will not know where you are, what you're doing, how to look upon the world or on yourself, and you will be in pain.
Yeah.
It always starts off harmless. This is a
Mhm.
harmless thought. I can just have this little thought here, and you're on the stairway to hell. And everything you do after that is a belief thought until you are drowning in suffering.
Yeah. Right.
And the Course goes, no, listen. The Course goes, just stop. The miracle comes quietly into the mind that stops an instant and is still. Don't go having thoughts about your thoughts and trying to think yourself out of a prison made of thoughts. That's madness. That's the stairway to hell. Let the miracle come when the mind stops for a moment. Now, how do I do that? The mind isn't you. You stop doing anything with the mind. Stop listening to it. Stop engaging it. Stop identifying with it, and instead totally forgive it exactly as it is.
Yeah. You know
So,
what? Thank you.
no problem. So, Marcia, in this moment, whatever thoughts are doing in your mind, stop opposing them and do nothing about them. Stop pushing and pulling on them. Just do nothing about them. Just totally give them permission to do what they want, totally forgive them, and oppose nothing. Are they forgiven? Just let go. Just stop. Stop fighting. Just stop doing. Just let them be. Just do it. Forgive them.
Just real quick, I was running something by yesterday to my husband, John, what I'd been thinking about with the course. And he said, just stop it. And I started getting really pissed because he didn't understand me.
Okay, well, Marcia, I'm telling you the same thing. Stop it.
I
Now,
know, I
that's
know,
more
I
thoughts.
know,
You
I know. Thank
jumped
you.
back into thoughts there. I was going,
I
will you
know.
just forgive thoughts, stop engaging with them? And you jumped into a thought about John. Now, in this moment, will you understand? Your thoughts are not you. They're nothing. You don't have private thoughts. They don't mean anything. They're not real. The one on whose behalf they arise is imaginary. It's another thought. It's not you.
Mhm.
Okay, so in this moment, whatever thoughts are doing in your mind, will you stop fighting with them and pushing on them and pulling on them and following them? Will you just forgive them? Just let them be exactly what they are. Just stop
Okay.
all fight and let them be. Are they forgiven?
Yes.
Okay. And there's going to be thoughts in there going, I need to work this out. Maybe there's something to learn. Maybe I have to look right. And this, that's not you either. Just
Mhm.
whatever they're doing, just forgive them doing that because it has nothing to do with you. Just stop fighting with them. Stop pushing on them. Stop pulling on them. Just give them permission to do whatever they want. Do nothing with them. Just let them do whatever they want. Are they forgiven?
Mhm.
And there's a
Mhm.
meta thought that says, oh, these thoughts are something to do with me and I need to like, maybe I'm fixing these thoughts or I got to get rid of these. That's not you either. That's thoughts. That doesn't mean anything. Just in this moment, all of those thoughts, let any of them do what they want because none of them are you. Just totally forgive them and let them be here. Are they forgiven? And what's here in this moment? That's not a thought.
Are you asking? What's
Yeah.
here?
What's here?
Nothing. I
Are
mean,
you separate from that nothing?
no, I'm
So
not
this nothing
separate.
is act. Don't ask your thoughts. Don't ask your thoughts. They're all lies. They're not you. Just don't mind them. This nothing. Are you separate from this nothing?
Mm-mm.
Is there any thoughts going on in the nothing? Now, there's mad thoughts going on in the mad mind. That's not you. But is there
Mhm.
any thoughts going on in the nothing?
No,
Is there anything
no,
wrong here in the nothing?
no, no,
Has it ever been wounded?
no,
Can it be?
no,
Is there, can you find any boundary or limitation or place where this nothing ends?
no. Mm-mm.
And this nothing where there's no thoughts, which is unknowable, therefore,
Ah,
is there any memory or anticipation in the nothing?
no, no.
No. And so knowing, being here, being what is the light of the world is not an experience. Experience is what the imaginary self made of thoughts has.
Mhm.
To be here, to be what you are that's unknowable and unchanging, you have to reject experience. You have to let go of wanting experiences. You have to
Mhm.
die to Marcia. Marcia's just a bunch of thoughts that you thought was you.
Yeah, yeah,
This is why they call it the eye of the needle, because you can't bring the bundle of thoughts called Marcia through.
yeah.
You can't bring any experience here. You have to let go of wanting any experience. You die to Marcia. She's dead. Now, she never lived. She was just a bundle of thoughts. But you've died to Marcia. And what is here is unknowable and unchanging. And it's not an experience. It is pure presence. And there's nobody in it going, I am presence. That's a thought. There's just presence. And it's what's here always. And it is the truth of what everyone and everything is. And it's never absent. It is veiled from you when you think you're thinking. In the holy instant where you die to Marcia, where you let go of wanting any experience, where you come back here to the holy place where thoughts can enter not, where there is no memory and no anticipation, there is just what's here, what is. This is the holy instant. And this is what all your brothers are. And from here, without thought in your mind, as you look at the image of this body in front of you, if you don't engage with thoughts, if you stay here as what you are, can you know me as something other than this quiet center than you are? But you can only know what I am by being it. You have to free yourself from concepts. And now you look inside and you see this unknowable changelessness, and you look out and that's what you see, because projection makes perception. You first look in at what you believe you are, which is what cannot be known, and what is changeless. And now you must look here and go, that is the unknowable and the changeless, because you can only perceive what you've either projected or extended.
Right. Extended. Okay. Got
But
it.
if you look inside and see a bundle of thoughts that you call Marcia and make a self of yourself, now you must look out and you must have thoughts about what the light of the world is, and say it's a good separate self, or it's a bad separate self, or it's good course teacher, or it's bad course teacher, or blah, blah, blah. But that's not here. Those are thoughts. You looked in and you confused yourself with a bundle of thoughts. Now you're looking at what's here and you're confusing it with a bundle of thoughts. You think you know what I am, so you're wrong, because what I am is unknowable. What everything is ultimately unknowable. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
So
I
thinking
thought
you
it was
know,
kind of a,
yeah, the Course says your
okay.
only problem is you think you know what everything's for.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't. That's why
right.
in the Course it says your part is very simple. You need only decide that everything you've learned you do not want.
Mm,
Thoughts. Don't get
mm,
involved in them. Don't fight them. Don't just realize they're only thoughts. That's got nothing to do with what I am, because what I am can't be understood with thoughts. Can't be turned into a concept. It's the escape from concepts. It's changelessness. It's unknowability. And that's what my brother is, changelessness and unknowability. Everything else is my delusion that I think I know what everything means. And it doesn't. Does that make sense?
perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you. And
Marcia.
get stuck in the fly paper, as you say.
Yes. Once you start believing a thought and you think, oh, thinking
Woo.
is my friend, thinking's going to
Yeah,
help me, thinking's going to get me there, that's the
got it.
flypaper. It
Yeah.
won't. Because just
Thank
if the
you.
thinking stopped, you're already there.
All right. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks, Marcia.
Sure.
All right. So, Eli, are you happy? We'll take a net and then we'll draw a line under it.
Yes, that will
Good.
work perfectly.
Lovely job. So, Annette, there you are. Hi,
Yeah,
Annette.
hello. It's a practical question.
Right.
When you know other people, and actually you know that they're not there, um, how can you? Then you don't have to visit them. You don't have to go and see them because they're not there.
Okay. That's a common misperception.
Mhm.
The ego will tell you, thoughts that pretend
Yes,
to be
yes.
you will tell you, oh, if you do this, you're going to be useless to everyone. You're going to have no compassion. You're not going to care about anyone in the world. Okay, stick with me. I know. Stick with thoughts. Thoughts are your friend. You know, we've got good thoughts and bad thoughts for people, and you need them. Because if you don't use them, you'll never care about anyone. You'll never do anything. You'll have no motivation. You won't be loving. You won't be compassionate.
Yes.
And they're all lies. None of them are true. They're thoughts
Yes.
that are pretending to be you and pretending to make a powerful contribution to the truth and make it what it is, but they don't. The actual thing is that you don't have to attack your brothers to see them as egos and then be compassionate towards them as egos. That's what the Course calls false empathy. For me to express love in the world, I don't have to, first of all, attack presence to see it as lacking, needing, wanting, suffering, imaginary, separate selves, and then be the holy one that's going to do something holy for them. I don't have to do that. Because that's not actually an expression of love. That's cannibalism. What I've done is I have attacked the unknowability and changelessness that my brother is to see him as an ego, wanting, needing, lacking, and suffering, so I can feel good about myself, so I can feel better about how guilty and worthless I am as an ego as I do something loving for my brother and feel better about myself. So that's not loving. It's cannibalism.
Yes.
I have to attack my brother to see him as lacking so that I can be the holy one that's filling his lack. And then I don't have to feel as bad about myself as an ego because deep down I hate myself and think I have no worth.
Yes.
So the Course is going, no, 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 no. What you want to do is when you, first of all, accept your brother exactly as he is with no opposition. And then you look at whatever sin, guilt, and fear is coming up in your mind with no opposition, so it can vanish before you who cannot oppose. And you clearly are what is unknowable and unchanging. And you look, and this is the truth of what your brother is. Everything you do from here will be compassionate and kind and loving and guided. This is literally how you move from fear over what I am, fear over what my brother is, and trying to make it better. You move from that and you move to love. You undo the decision for fear, to believe in lack, to believe in need, to believe in want. You come home to the wholeness that's here, that's the truth of you, and it's shining as your brother. And from here, love will meet the needs of the moment through you, and you'll have no investment in it. You don't have to think about it or come up with a plan. Love will spontaneously and naturally meet the needs of the moment for everyone concerned here. So it's a really good question because everyone's ego does that. They go, no, don't do that. Don't go into the quiet center. Stick with us, thoughts. We know what we're doing. We'll see your brother is lacking and needing, and you can be the hero that goes in there and feels better about yourself because you're doing something for him, and this will be fabulous, and this is what holiness is. And the Course is going, no, 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 that's nonsense. You, first of all, you must accept your brother exactly as he is. It's not your job to fix him. It's your job to accept him exactly as he is with no opposition. Now you get to see the sin, guilt, and fear in your own mind and not oppose that. And now the light of the world is here, presence. This is what you are and your brother is. You're both this, because there's not really you and your brother. There's this presence appearing as you and your brother. And all is well. And from here, whatever needs to happen, whatever love can do at the level of the dream, love will do through you because you've gotten out of the way.
You mean when I forgive the feelings I have about these persons,
They're not
then
about no. They're never about the other person. You don't have feelings about the person. They're your own feelings. And
yes,
because you're
yes,
looking at the other person, your feelings seem like they're about the person, but
yes,
they're not. So think about someone where you have these bad feelings about this person and you have these bad thoughts about the person. Now, if there's no thoughts going on in your mind as you're looking at this person, can there be any problem with this person?
no,
Yeah. And if there's no thought saying, oh, they did it to me, there's awfulness, there's pain, they did it to me, if those thoughts are gone, is there any evidence that the feelings inside of you were done to you by someone?
no, no. I can see that. What
Yeah.
happened?
Sorry, my camera was is not
Yeah, I can
focusing
see
very
this.
well. Yes.
Yeah, no,
Um,
no, no. I know that, but it's then come up, bad consciousness, and but that's only the thoughts again.
yeah, so whatever your brother's doing is perfect because the only purpose it has is for you to undo the awfulness that's coming up in you. Your brother is showing it to you. Your brother's not causing it.
No, no, I know it's in myself. Yeah,
So the first thing you do is you must. This is where everyone goes wrong. Let me come closer to the camera, see if focus is a bit better. Don't know why it's gone so contrary. Let me try this. No, we'll have to forgive this.
we
All
can still
things,
see you.
people, all things are working exactly as they should. There are no
Yes.
exceptions except in the ego's judgment.
Now it's
um,
good. Now it's all right.
good. See, bit of forgiveness there, all sorted.
That's it.
um, Okay. So, and it doesn't matter what's happening in the world, right? If you think it means stuff, that's insanity.
Yes.
You're dreaming, you're asleep, you think you're something that doesn't exist, surrounded by other somethings that don't exist, right? So you're in hell. So there's nothing you can't access the Holy Spirit, you can't access forgiveness, you can't access the miracle, nothing. That you cannot access anything until you switch the purpose of the world. Until you understand this should be happening. Okay. Now there's awfulness in my mind, but that's why it should be happening. So
Yes.
I now get to sit with this awfulness in total forgiveness, in total non-opposition of it, and without going into the thoughts that want to tell me what an asshole my brother is. Because that's not the reason for the awfulness. That's projection. That's
Yes.
the lie. The awfulness is because I think I'm a self made out of thoughts, surrounded by other selves made out of thoughts. But the whole thing is made out of thoughts.
Yeah. So that's why
So
it's coming up for me to look at it.
it's the only purpose the world has.
Yeah.
That is the only purpose for you appearing to be here,
Yes.
is that the world is going to world and things are going to thing and they mean nothing. But when the world whirls and things thing, awfulness, which is the sin, guilt, and fear you made up to protect the truth of what you are, the awfulness will come up. Thoughts will try and go, the images did it to me. Okay. And you go, aha. Okay. They didn't. The images are showing it to me because that's the only purpose the world has. But until you switch the purpose of the world is not so I can be happy as a self made out of thoughts. The world is not so I can be a perfectly happy body in the world. The world is not so I blame it for how awful it is to consider myself a body and an insane voice talking to itself that I'm not. Okay. So the first thing, no one can practice this course until you understand the world should be doing that. That's your first step.
Yes.
It's perfect for its process because the world has no purpose other than forgiveness. Now, awfulness is here. Right. Because this is what you need to undo. And you undo it by not opposing it, by total forgiveness of it, by total non-judgment of it. No opposition.
Yeah.
The minute there's no opposition, something unspeakable is here. Something unknowable is here. Pure presence is here the minute all opposition drops. And it's here in the middle of the awfulness. And the awfulness can't stand against it.
Thank you, Keith.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Guys, thanks a million for your attention today. I hope you got something out of it. We will catch up in the Facebook group during the week, and we will do it all again next week. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.